Like, here we go. Here it is. Aww. Oh my gosh. There's our baby. Today we're going to be answering all your questions about labor, birthing our son, and where we are now. So stick around to see pictures and video footage you didn't see.
It's traumatic.
No, it's not. Relax. We're gonna breathe. Let's start off by watching the very beginning of our births video.
It's baby day. Oh, I'm so excited. This is my last bump update. 39 weeks and 2 days pregnant, and we're going to meet baby today. I'm gonna cry.
That was such a crazy feeling, knowing we were leaving the house and we were gonna come back with our son.
I would like to point out I was super stressed about getting there on time and trying not to stress out my already pregnant wife, but I was like, we need to go. We're gonna miss the induction.
We had to be there at 5 a.m. and it was like 4:40 when we took that clip. And he was like, we don't have time to take a vlog. I was like, it's our last moment as parents. We have to film it.
Last moment as parents?
Wait, last moment before we become parents, sorry. So our first question was your birth plan, what you expected. So no. Originally, we had planned to go to the birth center, and if you watched all the pregnancy vlogs, you know that was the plan. But in my last trimester, I ended up getting high blood pressure, so we had to be induced. The whole week prior to this, we were waiting on a phone call to say, hey, come to the hospital. And if you don't know what induction means, that basically means they put you into labor.
Yeah.
So we were waiting all week, and then the night before that clip, we got the phone call, and they're like, hey, can you be here at 5 a.m. tomorrow? And we were like, oh my gosh. So we had to like rush pack everything. But we ended up in the hospital, but I'm so glad we did because our experience was truly amazing and God knew exactly what we needed. Plus, I'm really glad I ended up getting drugs.
Okay, we are settled in the hospital. We've been checked in. I've got my cute little labor gown on. Look at our sign. Look, we're having a boy.
Aww.
Isn't that cute? How do you feel? You look tired.
I am tired.
Oh.
That whole, what was it, 28 hours?
It was a long labor. It was 28 hours.
Is like a blur, especially the like first 12 hours because we got there at 5 a.m. and hospitals are like just not cozy enough to where you can't sleep. You know, it's like you can almost, it's cozy enough to where you can almost go to sleep, but I don't think I took a nap until like 14 hours in or something.
Yeah, so we get there at 5 a.m., we check in, and we get all cozy in this room in the sense of like we get settled in with our stuff. Scott actually tries to lay down and take a nap because I'm just kind of laying there waiting for contractions to hit. So we're both fine, and it's 5 in the morning. Like, we have a long day ahead of us, take a nap. And then they come in, and they're like, your monitor's not working. We have to switch rooms. Yeah. Which brings us to our next question, how was the hospital? Well, I actually ended up liking our second room a lot better. It was really nice, it was really big, we had a nice TV, we had a better bed in there for you.
I don't remember, it was just more spacious.
I feel like I remember every single moment of the beginning, and you barely remember it, I feel like.
I've blocked out some of it. I wrote it all down so I didn't forget.
And we ended up making it more cozy. We added like twinkle lights eventually, and
that was like hour 22 or something.
Yeah, that was way later, but it was like, I feel like a pretty cozy labor room, I will say. It didn't feel too sterile to me.
We've started the official induction process, and I also had pain meds. I feel like I've had a margarita. But in a really good way. I feel very relaxed. I feel calm. I feel like I can handle this. I was so nervous because they literally put a balloon up me to start me going. And it wasn't that bad.
Oh, naive, Keeley. It wasn't that bad at the beginning. It got really bad in the middle of the day.
Scare people.
I'm not trying to scare people, but birth is intense.
Okay, but a big portion of it, I think, is that you only got 2 hours of sleep before.
Yeah, that's true.
And fatigue is a real thing. Like maternal exhaustion is a reason for a lot of C-sections, right?
Yeah, we were going in sleep deprived for sure.
Yeah.
So this person asked, what was one thing that happened to you that caught you off guard? So with the induction process, every 4 hours they would give me a medicine, and I did not expect every time they gave me the medication, I would have really intense contractions for the 1 hour after that. And so it was like major pain for like a full hour, and then they would calm down for like 3 hours. And then the other thing that caught me really off guard was when they came to check the balloon like in the middle of the day. And that was honestly more painful than when he actually came out. That was so painful in that moment.
Okay, but you had an epidural one.
I know, but in that moment, that was the most like painful moment I think of the whole birth experience.
Babe, you are remembering this all wrong.
No, do you remember how loud I screamed when they checked it?
Yes, you were in more pain after your water broke.
Yeah, that was definitely more pain. But this was right before it. This was right before my water broke.
Contractions have started to hit a little bit. They're, I would say, like 3 to 4 on a pain scale, okay? I have my focal point. My mother said to find one. So I printed out a scripture on this beautiful picture of Montana, which is a very calm and relaxing place to me.
Okay, Keeley, did you expect it to be as painful as it was?
So right there, when those contractions hit in the early morning, like I said, they're on a 3 to 4 pain scale. As the day progressed, like I said, every 4 hours they're giving me this medicine, and for the first hour, they would be more like a 5 or 6, and then they would calm down for a few hours. And then contractions really didn't get painful until way later when my water broke at like 11 p.m.
There was like 4 hours though, where we were seeing contractions on the screen. The monitor shows when you're having contractions, and they were large, strong contractions, and you didn't feel a thing.
Yeah, there was.
It was like 4 full hours. We're like, you're not feeling that? She's like, nope.
It was so weird.
And this is right before they broke your water.
Right
so
before.
like, these were some of the strongest ones your body was doing, but you weren't feeling them.
Yeah,
it was weird.
I literally think the Lord just protected me in that moment, because he was like, you need a 4-hour break before you go through what I was about to go through. So I got a nice little break, thankfully. But I also want to answer this question. What was your favorite Bible verse to remember during your pregnancy? And I showed that little focal point that I had there. So that scripture really spoke to me a lot during pregnancy, and it's just like, they will run and not go weary, and they'll walk and they will not faint. That was something I like really held on to a lot during my pregnancy when I was just having such hard times. It really got me through that day.
Yeah. I remember reading it to you several times throughout the process. I don't remember a specific time, but I remember doing it.
Yeah.
I know the Lord's gonna work it all out, and He's gonna put me in the right hands. Oh my gosh, it's we're gonna see you in just a minute.
My mom and dad are here. Grandma and Grandpa, you guys excited? Nana and Papa?
We have not slept. We're so excited.
You didn't sleep at all last night?
It was, yeah.
It's my mom like talking to the camera, and my dad just munching down on his tacos. Wait, I need to talk about my dad for a second. Dad, if you're watching this, I'm sorry to expose you. So listen, the day before I went into labor, I told my dad, I said, you're not allowed in the birth room. I don't care if I'm not having contractions, you're just not allowed to be there. And he's like, got it. And then that morning when my mom came up, he brought her, and he had brought us food, and he's like, can I just come say hi? And I was like, I guess. And then right after that moment, I started having a couple contractions. Nothing crazy, but I was like, trying to breathe. And you and my mom both like held my hands and like were helping me breathe. My dad has no idea, and he's sitting there munching on the taco, and he's like, that's so crazy. And just continues on this long storyline. And then he makes a joke, and he's like, yeah, well, those probably aren't as painful as my traffic to get to Chick-fil-A. I was like, get out. Get out right now. He was in there 5 minutes, and then I kicked him out. And then he didn't come back till after he was born.
Was having your mom in the room helpful?
Oh my gosh, my mom was just so kind and caring, and you can see in that clip she was like praying over me constantly. And it was really nice because you guys tag teamed really good.
Worked out well.
Yeah, where like you would step in, help me when I needed you, and then when you were really just weary or tired, my mom would step in. And
I don't want to say I couldn't have done it, but it was so much better having her mom in there. It made it feel doable.
Yeah.
You know, so my thought process almost the whole time was like, I can't show my stress to Keeley because it's just going to heighten her stress level. There's so many times like when there's a monitor that shows the baby's heart rate. Everett's heart rate would spike, or it would drop, or it would cut out, and it wouldn't be monitoring anymore, and my heart would drop. And I just wouldn't say anything to you. I just would like keep a smile and like let the nurse know, or not pray. A couple times I like took walks. I like had panic attacks almost, or whatever. There's a couple breaking points for me because it's just high tension, and
Yeah.
the whole time.
He didn't come in and walk.
Almost the whole time. There were a couple down moments that it felt like, it's kind of weird, like we're just hanging out in labor.
Yeah.
But those only lasted like 30 minutes at a time. We did watch Sweet Home Alabama.
We did watch the So somebody asked how many people were allowed in the room while you're in labor. You kind of answered that. We were talking about like my mom was there, you were there, the nursing staff, which was like 2 nurses. And then later we had my doula come up, which she helped us. She's like a birthing coach.
Yeah, that was so helpful as well. They probably do have a limit, but they didn't tell us a limit.
Once I gave birth, there was probably 10 people in that room.
Yeah, maybe potentially more.
Yeah, you can have a lot of people in a hospital room. And you can be very vulnerable and exposed to a lot more people than you ever thought you would be.
Okay.
We have an update for you. It is 7:15 p.m. They just took the balloon out an hour ago, and I'm at 4.5 centimeters, baby.
Okay, so at this point, I've had 12 hours of the medication in the balloon for my induction.
Yep.
And then at this point, they're like, okay, it is time to like ramp up this induction. Let's get you on this medication called Pitocin, which is supposed to ramp your contractions up. And so we did that. And then we spent an hour and I was having contractions, but I wasn't feeling them still super, super strongly. And they were like, okay, we want to break your water. And I was like, not quite yet, because I was waiting for my water to break to let my body know I was progressing more. Because at this point, I was 4.5 centimeters dilated, and an hour goes by and I hadn't made any progress. So my doula, you called her, because you were also just wanting her emotional support, right?
Yeah, I just was getting stressed and worried, and I was like, please come. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he called her.
Which you kept, like, you were getting closer and closer and closer, and like, we could have it in an hour, and it takes an hour for her to get here.
Yeah.
So I was concerned.
You were like, I'm scared you're gonna pop this baby out in an hour, and I was like, I don't think that's the
you were
case.
like, we don't need to call her, we don't need to call her, and I was like, and I listened to you say that for a couple hours, and I'm like, I'm calling her.
Yeah, you just
I
made
need
the
her
decision.
to come now.
And then she was there 12 hours, which is okay, but it was just a long time. So they were like, we want to break your water, and she was like, why don't we try some natural things? So that's why you saw me start walking around and stuff. After this, I started doing lunges. She started moving me around to get my body naturally progressing. And after about 2 hours of that, I got to 5 centimeters. And then they were like, okay, it's time to break your water. And then that's where things get real. Stop, why are you laughing?
No way.
Why are you laughing at me in
You're
pain?
laughing at her pain right now, Scott.
It's funny now.
It's not funny. That was the most pain I've ever been in my life. Why does Everett sound like that when he wants milk?
Yeah, it sounds like Everett. I think that's why I'm laughing. No, what's funny is this. It's like we see that and then you're smiling. because that's before and after the epidural.
So like I said, things got real because they broke my water, and then all of a sudden I started having insane contractions that looked like that.
That's around 11 p.m.
Yeah, for
right?
like an hour straight, I was just contracting like that, and I was like, get this epidural.
So
that answers our question then. Were you able to get an epidural? Did you opt out of it? I got that epidural so fast after that water broke. I mean, it was an hour, but it felt like forever. But what's crazy is they said that they've never had to stick somebody to numb them as many times as they had to stick me. So they had to do it 6 times before I got numb.
Because some redheads
Have
carry
a
a gene that makes them
Have a higher tolerance to anesthesia.
Yeah.
So I'm apparently one of those redheads.
Well, the scariest part about that actually was at the time to cope with pain. Well, what's the gas that you can inhale called?
Laughing gas.
They have laughing gas
Oh, I forgot
where
about this part.
you can breathe some in and it'll like take the edge off of some of the pain. In the heat of the pain of the needle, you know, you took you kept it on for like 10 seconds. You probably took like 3 deep breaths. You took it off and then you just stared like.
I had no motor function. And what was crazy is in my brain, I knew what was happening, but I couldn't move my body.
She was non-responsive for like, it felt like a couple minutes. It was probably actually like 30 seconds. And your mom was like trying not to really freak out.
She was like, is she okay? And I kept trying in my brain, I'm like, oh my God.
And the nurse was like, yes, it's just the laughing gas. It's gonna go in a second. And I just was looking and I was like, you're okay. I was talking to her. But in the back of my mind, I was like, thinking what your mom was thinking. Because I've seen you like that before in like panic attacks.
Yeah.
And where you're like awake, but you're like kind of non-responsive in the moment.
Yeah, it was
So-
weird because in my brain I was like, my mom's freaking out. I need to tell her I'm okay, but I can't tell her I'm okay. Scott's freaking out. I need to tell him I'm okay. And
Did it
I was
look like I was freaking out?
Yes, in my brain I'm like, wake up, wake your body up, wake up and tell them you're fine, wake up and tell them you're fine. But on the outside I was like,
I thought I was calm, cool, and collected.
I could just
I
see it
guess.
in your eyes.
I got an epidural and I feel 100 times better. My contractions, I wouldn't say they were 10 out of 10. They could have been worse. But I think they got to probably a 9.2 out of 10. And I was like, all right, let's get this epidural going. So now I got it and I feel so much better. I do have those epidural shakes though. Just
I
a
forgot
little
about the
shaky
shakes. Oh, and the
However, if
forehead
you press
thing.
the top of your forehead, apparently it
I
stops the
blocked that on
shakes.
my memory. My doula told me this trick. She's like, if you press your thumb here on your forehead and pull up, it's like a nerve, a central nerve controls the shakes. So like I literally was like, Scott, press it forward. So he was just constantly Simba-ing me, and he would go, Simba.
And it may be completely placebo, but it stopped. She would stop shaking. Maybe it's just because she's focusing on that one thing and like stopping. I don't know.
It was so funny though.
I was so excited. And I was telling Scott, I had like a mental checklist of all the steps and things you do to get through labor. Getting my epidural was like the last thing on the checklist besides like pushing and giving birth. So that's crazy, that's next.
That's so crazy, bro. I can't believe that. In my brain, I was like thinking about that moment when I was going through the mental checklist and I was like, okay, we get the induction, we do this, we do this, we do this. And then we get the epidural, and then after the epidural, you get complete and then you push. And so when I had the epidural and it was complete, like the epidural, and I was just like, now I'm waiting for me to be ready. It just was a moment of like, holy crap, the next thing I'm gonna do is push a baby out.
This whole journey, this whole 9 months, and boom, we're here.
And
we're
so
on the final
That's
stretch.
what was crazy, was watching that back and remembering that realization that I had, that this is the next final stretch. That's what I was trying to get at.
And I'm remembering the feeling, just like we were really excited about to push, but I also was just like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean we're about to push? What? Like,
Wait, that's the next step. That's the next step. Let's watch it.
okay.
You get to see him in person.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. No, I'm so scared and nervous and excited.
So worth it.
Our life's about to change forever.
You'll be okay.
Best, most incredible way you can't even begin to understand.
His empty
Become
bassinet.
parents, baby?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I can't believe this freaking long journey is coming to an end. It's actually about to like be real. I'm about to be
That was all after they came in and they were like, you're at a 10, it's time to push. And I was like, you're for real? Like, it's time to push?
Oh yeah, they came in, they checked. She checked in immediately. She said, "You're complete." And I said, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah, he literally stood up and was like, are you joking? And I was like,
Because she just said it so quickly, and I didn't realize like they can just tell right away.
so they came in, they're like, it's time to push. Which, by the way, I was laying in bed for like those 4 hours after I got that epidural, and we were all resting. And I'm just kind of laying there, and I was like, I really gotta go to the bathroom. And I was like, you know what? I've heard people on TikTok say that's how you know when it's ready to push. And I told the nurse, I said, I gotta go to the bathroom. You might want to check. And then they came and checked, and then they're like, yeah, you're complete. But then, yeah, it was that moment of just like, holy crap, wait, this is it? Like, we're about to have this baby. This journey's coming to an end. And, you know, in my mind at that time, I was optimistic that it would be an hour until we met him. It was several hours later, but we'll get there. Oh, you were so encouraging.
The 1 hour of rest you got the whole time. That's what it was right there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was just so crazy.
Time went so slow.
I love this montage because as we're watching me push, like I feel like these moments were playing in my head almost.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh my gosh. So many times of pushing.
Like, here we go. Here it is. Oh my god. There's our baby. Oh. Oh my gosh. It's so crazy to watch back every time I see it.
What was going through your head when you were giving birth to Everett, like when you were pushing?
I would say like first hour, it felt like encouraging. Like everybody was really high energy. Everybody in the room was excited.
Like, we're doing this.
We're doing
really
this.
Promising.
We're ready to meet him. Like
you were pushing really hard, and I wanted you to take a step back because I thought you were gonna pull something, like in your back or in your leg.
Can you reenact
Going
it for
way
us?
too hard. Yeah, it would be like. And she would like pull her knees.
that's what the nurses kept telling me to do.
Because she has epidural and you can't feel all of your body.
They kept telling me to like with everything you have. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, but you need to push down and not bend over. And
That's what they
I
kept
just
telling
was
me. They kept
very
saying
scared.
bend.
I was very. I don't remember it that
Yes,
way.
she did. Anyway, so hour 1 was like a lot of energy.
Second hour, your epidural started to wear off a little.
Which means that I could feel a little bit more. I was able to get in different positions. So that really helped like progress labor a little bit more. But then I could start to feel him a little bit. And I was like, oh, no. I don't want to play this game. I do not want to feel this because this is going to get painful fast. So I asked them to top off my epidural, which then I feel like stalled us a little longer because in hour 3 was hard. That was when we were like, okay, is this ever going to end?
Yeah, you started losing steam. The doctor, the OB came in.
I was mentally at a place where I could not hear anybody. I could not focus on anything. I was emotionally and mentally and physically gone.
Her eyes were just shut. Like we were like, push, like just screaming, like push on the times when she was supposed to. And she just was like,
My whole body was collapsed on the bed.
lay down. But then the doctor is used to it because she came in and she ignited the fire back in Keeley. She was like, listen, do you want a C-section?
I was like, no, I don't want to see.
Then you're gonna have to push this baby out.
And I was like, but I don't think I can. I'm so tired.
And something about when she was hard to push and everyone in the room would say push. And then a couple seconds in, the doctor would start saying push. It was like a guttural yelling
She's
of
like,
push.
Push!
Yeah. It was like an anime. There needs to be an anime on OBGYNs.
Oh, that's so funny. And then she was like, all right, his head's stuck. We're gonna have to get him out. So they had to use these things called forceps, which basically are like salad tongs grabbing Everett's head.
Well, we were scared because there's 2 options if the head is stuck on there's 3 options. One's a C-section if the head is stuck on the pelvic bone. The other 2 to get the baby out, forceps. So basically, these are the forceps. They go in and they just gently pull down as you push so that the baby can go out, okay? The other way it can happen is
Thanks for the demonstration.
there's a it's helpful, right?
It is actually.
There's a vacuum and do the same thing, and they said and it depends on the provider, depends on the doctor what they're more comfortable using, either in general or in the situation. And there's only one person we know that's been delivered with forceps.
You wanna take a guess who it is? Who's got a big fat head around here? Preston. It's my brother. I have to make fun of him.
Yeah, he's my boss.
But yeah, so I've seen pictures of him as a baby, and he's got all these marks on his face, and I was
His
really
head was
worried.
so messed up.
His head was so messed up.
I don't want that for my
I swear his
baby.
head's still messed up today, and I was like so scared. And
He's
she's
so
like,
messed up. Oh my gosh, you're mean. You're so mean. But Everett was good, and the doctor was only in there for 4 sets of contractions. And on the last one, she used the forceps, and it only took 1 set of pushes to get him out. During pushing, did you ever feel like pooping? Because a lot of women say that it feels like a good push feels like you're trying to let out a poop.
I don't know. Do you want to answer that question? What did you see?
Was there a point where you felt like giving up?
Yeah, hour
Several.
3. Hour 3 was just like,
I can't do it.
I can't. I said this many times. I was like, I can't do it. I'm so tired.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. So then someone asked, how did you feel when you took Everett into your arms for the very first time? It's just a moment of like, oh my gosh, he's here. We did it. I'm done. Like we're done. This is over. Like he's here. And then I just like saw him and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a baby. Like I did this. A baby is here.
All I was thinking was crying. That's all. That's
Really?
There was no thought. Just like, what?
Yeah, it was just a big like, what?
It's
This
just
is
completely
happening?
overwhelming. No time to think
And
for me.
I would say
You were thinking everything.
I was thinking a million things at once. It was like, it's like the feeling of, I guess, finishing a giant race and crossing the finish line. Like that's what it felt like. And then I saw it on my tummy and it was just like so real. Then there was just the overwhelming feeling that came when I looked at you and I saw you crying. And when I saw Scott crying, I started busting out in tears because I was just like, oh my gosh. That was the moment I wasn't thinking. It was just feeling, it was just crying because it was just so overwhelming.
You didn't hear me apparently because later on you said the same thing and I was like, his name's Everett. I just knew.
You did?
Yeah. And then later on you said it too and I was like, yeah, we agree.
So that was really cool, that moment. I loved that. Did you have any moments that you were scared for you or for Everett? So once he was on my chest, it was this overwhelming feeling of emotion, but then things started to get kind of scary because I looked over to see my mom and she's like white as a ghost. And I just see them picking up rags of blood, like so much blood. Did you see that?
Yeah,
or
I
were you
wasn't
just in the moment?
No, I saw it. I saw them counting. After the labor and after they control the bleeding, they're counting up how much blood loss. Because they need to know if you hemorrhage or not, because if you hemorrhage, they might need to put more blood into your body because you lost too much.
Yeah, but the amount is what is 1,000 liters? Sorry,
It's a liter.
1 liter of blood.
It's 1,000 milliliters, yeah. So,
1,000 milliliters.
yeah. So
And I lost
average,
780. So I was not there, but I definitely lost a lot of blood.
Average is 500 milliliters. It's a half of a liter.
I was just sitting there seeing all this blood, saying to my mom, and I was like, wait, is everything okay? And then the doctor was like, you're bleeding a lot. We're going to control it. Don't worry. And I was like, okay, but I was too excited about Everett being there and in that moment with you to
I
be
didn't hear
worried.
any of that. I just saw that the doctors weren't freaking out and I felt fine.
But then they're like, we're gonna give you this medicine, and they give me this medicine in my mouth really fast. And I was like, what was that? And they're like, it's to control the bleeding. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's to clot up the blood, to thicken it, basically.
So they basically clean everything up. Basically everybody gets out of the room. Scott and I are looking at each other. My mom's looking at him. And then all of a sudden I started uncontrollably shaking, could not control my shakes. Shaking, chattering, my brain was shutting down, I couldn't talk. I was all of a sudden, and I looked at Scott and I was like, I don't know if you felt the fear in me in that moment, but I felt so scared. And I just said, take him, you have to take him right now. And Scott took him. And then I was like, I'm freezing. And then they checked my temperature and they're like, your fever is 104. And then the doctor came back in and the doctor was like, really bad side effects or fever, blank. So you're just having really bad side effects to this. And I was like, finally it calmed down. And then that was when we could all just kind of breathe for a second. And I look over and you're holding him.
Yeah, I don't think I could freak out either because I just was holding him on my chest
Yeah, which let's watch that clip. I love this clip. Here was you holding him for the first time.
Yeah.
And then they started doing his weight check and everything. Oh, he's so little. He's so big now. So that was really sweet, finally coming to and seeing you holding him, and they weighed him and did everything. And that went so fast. And then the next thing I know, my dad.
For me, it was really slow.
Really?
Yeah, I remember every moment.
Oh, really?
Not of the labor, but after he was born, everything went slow motion.
I just remember being starving. I remember being so hungry. So my mom calls my dad. She's like, hey, baby's here. Everybody's good now. Can you please bring us some food? So then my dad brought us Chick-fil-A, and that was the best Chick-fil-A I've ever had. And it was the first time I ate food and wasn't nauseous, my whole pregnancy, I felt like. So that was a great experience. And then it was just all of a sudden, it was okay, you've given birth, time to move, you're ready to go upstairs to the postpartum unit. And I was
It was probably
what?
a full 2 hours before
Yeah.
we moved rooms, I think. 2 and a half hours. And then it was just we tried to let him sleep in the room with us, and then he kept being fussy, and
He kept making noises for the first time. He's
they had offered
"Mm."
our suggestion is you let us take him to the nursery, that way y'all can get a good nap in.
So at this point, I hadn't slept in 2 days.
And we definitely caved in really quickly. The second we hit the beds, our heads hit the beds, we were like, oh my gosh, I want to sleep.
Yeah.
And so they came, they got him, they took him to the nursery, and we had just a solid 3-hour nap or something.
Best nap of my life because I didn't have a giant pregnant belly in the way.
Yeah, you could sleep on your side. You love to sleep on your side.
I could sleep on my side, I couldn't do that. And I was so tired. And it just was just such a rewarding nap. And then day 2, we had lots of visitors, but then things got a little bit tricky because Everett's blood sugar kept going low. And then that was really sad. I had to keep pricking his foot every hour to check it because he was
Until
having
it normalized,
he
yeah.
was having feeding problems. And then, so they're like, we're gonna keep him for another night to monitor, which I'm glad they did because I still was really weak after losing so much blood and stuff. Day 3, they were like, okay, everybody's good, y'all can go home. And I was just like, what? You're gonna send us home with a baby? Oh, and then before we left, this photographer came in And she was so cute because she was like, let me sing over your baby, is that okay? And I was like, yeah. And then she just started singing the Lord's Prayer over him. Wasn't that sweet?
Yeah, that was really nice.
It was like right before we left, and it's just kind of like a perfect bow tie to the end of our hospital journey of like, God was with us in all of this. And even though our change of plans was completely different than what we expected, this was truly like exactly what we were supposed to be doing, you know? And then that was the end of our hospital journey.
We're still to figure out how to use car seats. We're gonna have to figure out how to use a lot of things.
Oh, and then we wrapped it up.
Look what our cute.
What was that like just like leaving the hospital with him in the car seat?
It was weird. We both were like, that's so weird. We just go, we have this crazy experience, and then they just let us leave with a baby. You know, it's like, you know, a day ago, this person, the government didn't know about them, and now they do. And now we're the caregivers.
That was very funny.
So, yeah, just like it's, you know.
Oh my gosh.
That is so
I have the
cute.
best family.
Aww. Then we came home and we just had a newborn to figure out how to take care of. We had to learn how to get him to go to sleep and swaddle him and give him baths and change him. And it was just such a journey those first 2 weeks because it was just truly like, honestly, I don't remember a lot of it. It was such a whirlwind. Do you?
I hate when parents say this, but it just like went by so fast. Now that like when I look back at it, it's hard to remember all the little moments. It was really nice with your parents being here. I think with like first-time parents, it would have been really hard for us to just figure it out. You know, that would have been really difficult.
My parents were super helpful. But yeah, it was just like a lot of learning and it was just so sweet. It was just like all these snuggles and stuff. Okay, we have a few more questions to answer from you guys. So this person wants to know, what was the most difficult part?
Just not being in control.
That was really hard for
That's
you.
just the whole process. You know, you just really have to, for me, I just had to really let go and just give it to God. And I was having a hard time trusting him. I'm just glad that his behavior doesn't depend on how I feel about him.
Yeah.
So.
I would say what was really hard for me was also like having to surrender control and just like knowing I have no control in this and God has it all. Obviously the pain and recovery was really hard. And then just like learning how to care for a newborn and recover for yourself at the same time is really hard.
Anything you would do differently? Well, knowing now, we would have done the hospital route from the beginning because that's where we ended up and we would have saved a lot of money.
Very true. I think we'll just do a hospital next time.
Just because it worked out well for us, so.
I think next time, if it's not like medically necessary, I'd like to try to go into labor naturally. Just because the induction process did take 2 full days. It was a long time.
You think you want to do an epidural or not next time?
No, I love that epidural.
How long did it take for you to heal after giving birth?
I'm still healing.
Yeah,
My
it's not-
tailbone still hurts
it's not
today,
done.
3 months postpartum. I would say really the first 2 weeks were the hardest. I could barely sit. I couldn't get out of bed by myself. Like I couldn't even, your abs are like completely separated. So I couldn't even do this motion. Like I couldn't even lift myself up. It was so difficult. I could barely lift Everett up. Once I could start walking again and get out of the house and like go to like the park and take a walk around my neighborhood, I started feeling a lot better. And then I was
You also just like hated being stuck at home.
I hated being stuck at home. I was trying to get out so much, but I didn't want to overdo it. And I would say at about 6 weeks, I started feeling more like myself and feeling more like my body's coming back, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling good. And that's where I'm at now, where I'm like, I feel like I'm a person again in my body. It's just a weaker body than I had before, and I've got to rebuild my strength.
Did you experience any like rocky moments in your faith and like any doubt, fear, anxiety, and how did you overcome it?
I had a lot of anxiety after birth rather than during, but you had a lot of anxiety during the labor process.
Yeah, after he was here, it was like a breath of fresh air, like we made it. He's here. And it's still like a little bit, almost every night, it just like trusting like he's gonna be okay, you know. For whatever reason, I think parents just like, you know, are worried about their kids continuing to breathe and nighttime when you're asleep. So, but that's just, it's been getting increasingly easier.
I feel like my anxiety's worse because postpartum anxiety is really hard because your hormones are so screwed up. I feel like the first 2 weeks I was really anxious about everything. I mean, I had a full panic attack in the backseat of our car day 4 postpartum because I spilled Chick-fil-A sauce on myself. But
Yeah.
that was just like that like first week was really hard. Started getting better, and now it's better. But I do still have like a lot of moments where I panic and freak out really hard about something, and then I like a few hours later I'm like, I'm fine. Why was I freaking out about that? But a lot of moms deal with postpartum anxiety. It's very normal, and I'm just like trying to continually give it to the Lord and just seek Him and have Him help me balance my hormones and figure this out. Because it's really tough. I'm very anxious a lot because I'm just like, I love him so much now that I don't want anything to happen to him.
Did taking birth classes actually prepare us for the real thing?
I think that they were really helpful, actually.
I think they were super helpful, especially for first-time parents. Like, that was a big part of our education going in, was those, just to know what the process was gonna relatively look like and not be confused by it, and to know what the pre-labor was gonna look like. So yeah, I thought it was so helpful. It definitely prepared us well.
Things that were helpful. Learning how to breathe properly.
Yeah.
Learning how to to be emotional support for me.
Yeah, what to say, what not to say.
What to say, what not to say. Things that weren't super helpful, like positions. Honestly, like I feel like we didn't use half of the random positions we learned.
Yeah,
in that birth class.
it's good to know them and to try them so that you know already which ones felt good
Yeah.
and which ones didn't. So
But I feel like
at the
my
same
body-
time, with an epidural, you're very limited on what you
Yeah.
can do because you can't like stand up on your own. You can't like get out of the bed. So you're limited to the bed. Was it worth it? Was all of it worth it?
It was so worth it.
100%.
Everett's the best thing ever to us. I think he's the best thing that's ever happened to both of us.
Yeah, we're gonna do it 4 more times.
Cut the cameras.
Right?
No.